Next up, we got Chris Breezy. Chris Breezy, who is being campaigned against to not perform in South Africa. Um, Due to Chris Brown's past, there is an effort to ban him from performing in South Africa. So Chris Brown has shows scheduled in South Africa, I believe later this year, like in December. And there aren't many people who are very happy about this. Well, there are people who are happy about it, but there's also a lot of people who don't want to see this happen. And there's a petition that's been canvassed for him to not be allowed to perform. And as you can see there from the screen share, as of the time of the recording of this video, currently has over 20,000 signatures. So this says Chris Brown's South Africa concerts facing backlash. Petition for him to stop performing has over 20,000 signatures. South African campaigners for women's rights have created a petition to ban Chris Brown from performing in the country in December. BBC reports that the advocacy group Women for Change started the petition that currently has more than 20,000 signatures to prevent Brown from performing in a country with one of the highest rates of gender based violence around the globe. In less than 2 hours, Brown's concerts at the FNB Stadium in Johannesburg sold out. The fact that he could even perform there is surprising because he's previously been banned from entering other countries like New Zealand, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia.
Wow.
Speaking to BBC about Brown's upcoming concert, Sabrina Walter, the executive director of Women for Change, expressed her frustration. When I saw the news that Chris Brown was coming to South Africa, I was shocked and deeply disappointed. The petition was started to send a strong message that we will not tolerate the celebration of individuals with a history of violence against women. Brown currently has two concerts planned in South Africa, one on December 14th and one on December 15th. Brown's history of abuse and allegations is set to be covered in the upcoming docuseries Chris Brown, A History of Violence, which airs on Investigation Discovery on October 27th. In the trailer for the docuseries that released last month, it indicates that it'll revisit Brown's earliest domestic violence allegations involving Rihanna and Karuchi Tran. Near the trailer's conclusion, an anonymous accuser starts to share a story about the singer, saying, I have not spoken about this matter publicly, but that's not the only way that he can be stopped. So all the rest of that blah 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 goes into his history and all of this good stuff. So as you can see there is a large element in play trying to prevent Chris Brown from performing in Johannesburg this December due to his past with domestic disputes. They don't want him there in South Africa at all. So what do you make of this effort to prevent Chris Brown from performing in South Africa?
Uh, I didn't know stuff like this happened, so I guess this is a good thing. On one hand, and on the other hand, it's like, is that same energy being kept for everybody, or is this like selective? I would like to know. Not that I'm coming to the defense of Chris Brown, but this feels selective. There's real atrocities that went on to the people of South Africa and against women there too. So I hope that they have stances against, more people than just Chris Brown. So on one hand, I can sit there and go, hey man, if y'all have this and y'all, y'all standing on business and y'all looking out for the best interests of the people and all of that good stuff, I can't really be mad at that. But I would love the energy to be kept all the same. I was trying to find, real quick, I was trying to find like a ban list of people that they're just banning, or is this just a Chris Brown thing, so I really don't know what to make of this, to be honest. It's like it's a two-sided thing for me. I do wish more people did stuff like this, though. I would say that, in a sense where there is a coalition of people that would, um, petition to not allow somebody to perform in their state or in their city or something like that. To prevent that person to not, you know, profit in their town or city or country. And for one, like somebody like Bow Wow now, because because of his stance on Diddy parties, I don't want him performing in my city, and I want to be able to walk around and get enough people to say that, hey man, we heard you're performing here at blah blah blah. We don't want you here. And it's like, why? Because your stance on Diddy and his parties, and we don't know what you're about. So if we can do that, and of course I'm being tongue in cheek there, but it's a good example of if this is what you stand for, and y'all not about that, then I think more people need to do that. They need to do it with politicians too. They need to do that with corporations. So this act of coming together to prevent something, I think that's what I'm standing behind. I'm hoping this is not selective, because if this is selective, then I do have a problem with that. But this is women for change. Chris Brown did do something against women, or a woman, or women. Hell. So I can see where their gripe comes from, but I don't know, man. I will just hope that this is not selective outrage, and this is something that's they really do for everybody that has something out there against them. But what are your thoughts, man, on Chris Breezy running into some issues? And by the way, whatever stadium he sold out, I think that's like a big place down there. So and it's a big deal. So for him to be getting, I don't know, banned. What are your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, it is a big place, and I am fairly certain that there's a lot of women who bought those tickets.
Yeah.
So that's the thing about it is, where does the rubber meet the road? Because while I agree in principle, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? Solidarity. There's no solidarity, because there's a lot of women in South Africa who probably want to see Chris Brown perform. So how do you reconcile that? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I largely hear where you're coming from, though. I'm conflicted in that I have a very hard time agreeing with the idea that a transgression. Now, granted, Chris Brown has more than one, but never, but be that as it may, I've always had a problem with the idea that a person who pays for their sins, who does something and paid a penance and served their time and paid their debt to society, should just forever be stripped of their opportunity to earn a livelihood. Like, I have a problem with that. Like, I'm not, it's weird. I'm not trying to defend him,
I got you.
but the spirit of what I'm trying to say is, like, I really do have an issue with, like, a person basically being mandated to that it being mandated towards somebody that in the perpetuity you can no longer earn a livelihood doing what it is that you worked to earn, doing whatever it is that you cultivated for yourself. Like, I've always had a problem with that. So forever, this guy just can't earn a livelihood and do whatever he wants, not whatever he wants, but just whatever it is, whatever the thing it is that he always leveraged, he or
Mm-hmm.
she always leveraged in order to earn a livelihood. We just are okay with saying, for the rest of time, you get that taken away from you. There's something about that I've never really liked.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I also champion principle. I believe that more people in the world, I believe that the world would be a better place right now if more people lived principled, whatever those principles are. So if there is something that you stand on that you are unwilling to compromise in any capacity, I think that that's a good thing, whatever that is. So if you stand on women's rights and you're unwilling to compromise that, then somebody can hand you $1 million right now. Like, somebody can walk up to you right now and say, I got a briefcase with $1 million in it. But you basically have to do something that is going to have you compromise everything that you've always stood for in terms of women's rights. And for you to turn that down and say no, because my principles are more important than that, we need more people in the world like that.
Agreed.
So whatever it is, if it's women's rights, if it's labor laws, if it's food, like if you're passionate about, like you, for example, you like to bring up the things like foods and stuff like that. Whatever it is, my point is standing on business, being principled, and being unwilling to compromise those principles, even when you stand to gain something tremendously. If you choose to forego those principles and you still don't do it, I
Mm-hmm.
think the world needs more people like that. So if it turns out that with this particular situation, um, the people of South Africa or this organization is able to petition this thing so effectively that it turns out that, like, nah, you can't be here, bro. You did what you did and you can't be here. Sorry. Then even though to me there's a part of it that symbolizes that he's gonna have to live with this for the rest of his life, and he's gonna have to eat that, and there's aspects of his livelihood that he is not going to be able to take advantage of into perpetuity. And so that part kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. But what I would be even more uncomfortable with if we just said, I don't care, let him perform and do whatever he wants because we just want to make money and sing and dance
Mm-hmm.
and have drinks thrown at us from the stage, right? So I'd be more uncomfortable with that. So, I guess, that's a roundabout way of me saying that despite me feeling conflicted, at the end of the day, I uphold principle more than anything else. I think principle and structure makes the world a better, more hospitable place to live in. I think the reason why the world has become more inhospitable is because people do not reasonably have principles that they stand on. They just want to see the world devolve into chaos and anarchy, and we can just do whatever we want whenever we want. And so, from that standpoint, I have to kind of champion this because, in the long run, more principled people than not, to me, makes the world a better place.
Yeah, man. Well, agreed. And I was trying to figure it out, man. Like I put in, list of countries Chris Brown was banned from and why. But yeah, man, it's all because of the Rihanna situation. Because it's on
Yeah.
his record, and they don't allow people to be there because of that. And that's I didn't know that people or places did that. And if South Africa has a law like that, then well, that's their law. So and if that's how they roll, that's how they roll. But yeah, man, UK, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, like I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's pretty wild, man. And again, man, I'm not out here advocating or defending. you know, you gotta skate on thin ice with this type of stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But
Yeah.
at the same time, man, it's like I wish more countries did. I wish more people just did stuff like this, like you said, was like on the principle side. I think that was my takeaway from all of this was it's commendable in a way, but Chris Brown domestic violence situation. I mean, there's more sinister
Yeah.
and egregious things that are going on out here, and people don't have such a strong stance. And it's for
Hmm.
bigger names than people like Chris Brown, and they're parading themselves around the world. But I guess they were never found guilty in a court of law. I think this is the difference between those people and Chris Brown. I guess from alleged things or whatever. But yeah, man, if this was more uniform, I wouldn't be so okay. Well, whatever. If the people want to see him perform, let him go. How often will he be able? The people in South Africa get a chance to see him, moonwalk or whatever the hell it is he does nowadays. Side note, man. I mean, this guy is what eight, eight, nine, up in there, years younger than us, man. This guy is living a rock star life. He is looking rougher and rougher every time I see this guy, man. So he needs to get off of whatever he's on. But much like Bow Wow, man, this guy grew up an entertainer, and all he knows is the game. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna be missing out on a big check if he doesn't get a chance to do this because that was a lot of seats that got sold. But I'm pretty sure outside of him taking this little L here, you know, he'll be right back at it again. I guess at this point he's used to it. So, yeah, man, more power to them people, man. And I hope this women for change thing keep that same energy, man. And
Yeah.
yeah, and just do it across the board, and not for publicity to block Chris Brown from coming to South Africa. You know,
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely hear that. There needs to be more uniformity in terms of non-negotiables.
mm.
Clearly, Chris Brown in his past has become a worldwide non-negotiable. But there's other things.
Yeah.
There's other things that need to be added to that list for sure. So I definitely hear you on that. But yeah, I just more principled people living in the world would make the world a better place, in my opinion. So, like I said, there's an aspect of this to me that rubs me the wrong way, in that, with the exception of extreme circumstances, although one might consider this to be extreme.
Right.
So it's completely based upon your perspective. But for me, this doesn't qualify as that, in my opinion, meaning he should still be able to earn a livelihood. I think that that's a basic function of living that shouldn't be taken away from somebody, just earning a livelihood. But at the same time, if there are principles in play here, and this is an egregious violation of that, and people decide that this is a no-fly zone, then it is what it is, man. More people need to live a principled existence, and if this is an indication of that, then I have to champion it. So it is what it is.
Sheesh. Hey, but let
Yeah,
us know
good.
down in the comment section. How y'all feel about this? Women for Change blocking Chris Breezy from performing in South Africa. Now, if this is some type of law, like I said, this is a law like how, because this is South Africa is its own country, so they're allowed to do what they want. So if this is a country thing, then so be it. But if this is just a petition from .org,
Yeah,
I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Let us know.
right. I think if it was a law, he'd already be banned.
Right.
So something tells me, because he isn't banned, that it's not a law.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, this is purely a social movement. But we'll see how it plays out, man. But it's rough. Like I said, the sticking point for me is, how do you reconcile movements like this with the very clear and obvious fact that there are still a lot of women who support and want to see him? So good luck with that one. Y'all let me know how that works out.